Hey guys, Scare9 here. Welcome back to my channel today for episode 34 of The Last Word podcast. Joined by my co-host Jay-Z this week, not Iconoclast. Say hi, Jay-Z.
What's up?
Boom. Yeah, so we're a little bit empty, but we're gonna keep this train rolling because this was possibly my favorite week in the Destiny universe, like ever. So I'm pretty excited to talk about all of it. So first off, in the weekly update, I think really the only thing that needs discussing this week is going to be Xur. So Xur, actually, we happen to spawn right next to him in Nessus here. So I have a couple of questions. So one, do you think it's weird that he brought three, let's say armor pieces that you get literally by playing the campaign? Do you find that weird at all? Do you think that was intentional?
I definitely think everything was intentional on this Xur's inventory. And if they want to say it's random, they're full of it. So.
Okay. Yeah, I just realized game audio was up, so I'm turning that down. But yeah, I find it weird too. I'm interested in what the reasoning is. I think maybe so they don't, so everyone doesn't get every one of the exotics week 2 of the game is my guess of why they did it. Do you have any other,
Yeah, and I have a theory on the weapon that they chose as well. So, if we you want me to go into that?
Yeah. So, for those of you guys who don't know, they also brought the Merciless Fusion Rifle, which, if you are watching this right now, one thing, Xur now goes until weekly reset. So, he will be here until Tuesday morning. Go get the Merciless Fusion Rifle. It is the Gallowhorn of Destiny 2. So,
go get three of them, actually. Buy 3.
3? You're gonna have one for each character?
Oh yeah, it's the best weapon, or it's the best boss weapon in the game.
Nah, I'm pretty content with just having one, but I don't know. I guess for streams it would be handy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you guys need one, if you don't have one yet, definitely go pick it up. And so JC, why do you think Xur brought the most powerful weapon in the game the first week that the game is out?
I think because people were complaining so much about how difficult the raid was, that especially the ones that did it day one, they're like, and we did have some issues early on, and we're going to get into that later on DPS on certain bosses or certain boss. So I think that Bungie kind of was like, well, let's give them the best DPS weapon in the game. That way, some people can get it done, because it's a very technical and it's fairly difficult raid. So I think Bungie did that to help people out, because I don't see them any other reason for them to give the best weapon week 1 to everybody.
Yeah. Maybe my only other thought would be to avoid a Gallowhorn situation where people are like, you need to have Merciless or else we're not taking you through the raid.
Well, that's definitely a good thought too. Yeah.
But either way, I mean, it gets rid of both problems, and I think the raid, which, like you said, we will talk about later, I think it's so focused on concepts and just doing things in a specific way and mechanics and stuff. I think you need to almost remove the damage barrier, which they did on a lot of them. The Callus, which, like I said, we'll talk about later, is the only boss that it really matters how much DPS you're putting out. And that can really screw you, because if you have to redo those mechanics over and over and over again, you're much, much more likely to die and have to wipe. So it's very unforgiving. So I agree with yours a lot too. So the Merciless essentially makes it so if you make it through the mechanics phase, you'll win the encounter in 2 phases. So yeah. So that's pretty much that. Like I said, Xur goes to the weekly reset. If you need any of those things, make sure you go pick them up. It's pretty simple to find them. Like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, you can find him right in that tree over there. Pretty simple to see. He's marked on your map, marked on your HUD. I'm a little bit disappointed that they marked him on your HUD. Part of me cares, but the part of me that woke up at 5 o'clock this morning to make a video for you guys was very thankful they marked him on the map so I could get 2 more hours of sleep before I had to go to class. Because if they didn't mark him on the map, I would have had to be up and go look for him. So would you have rather have him marked on the map or not marked on the map, Jay-Z?
And so part of me is like, yeah, I just want to go. Some days I just want to go check what he has really quick and then, get it over with. And then other days I'm like, well, it's kind of fun trying to find out where he's at. So, it's good and bad. I think it's good for people that kind of don't know what they're doing very much.
Yeah.
And so it kind of shows him. And he's in a cool spot. If you did you show him actually on screen where he was at?
Yeah. I just showed. I just pointed over there. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in a really cool spot up in a tree. So like it's kind of cool, and hopefully he moves around and doesn't just stick there. But yeah, I mean it's good and bad. My opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, there's positives, negatives for pretty much every decision that Bungie makes. But yeah, I'm interested to see how they continue to evolve Xur, because his inventory is pretty naked at the moment. 3 armor pieces, 1 weapon, no Sparrow stuff, no weapon ornaments. So I don't know if that's all Xur is going to be used for now, or if they're going to continue to expand on him. I guess we'll find out, really. But that's pretty much Xur. So the first thing I want to really talk about in this one is the brand new Leviathan raid. Arguably the most difficult raid in Destiny history, in my opinion. And we're going to talk about why. But overall, Jay-Z, if you had to rank this on a scale of, I guess, 1 to 5, 1 being whatever your favorite raid is, and we're out of the 5 raids in the Destiny universe.
1 being the best? Okay.
Yeah. So 1 being the best. Where does this rank in your top 5 Destiny raids?
First.
Really?
Yes. Just for the simple fact that I love the. Okay, so part of what the mystique of King's Fall for me was the difficulty and the mechanics and working as a fire team together. And this brings even more of that in a good way, in my opinion, other than the last boss battle, which we'll talk about. But so I would say Axis is my favorite overall, like, final boss, but this is probably my favorite overall raid now.
Okay.
It's beautiful. All the scenery, all the places that you go to are just so diverse, so different. All the mechanics are different. Like, you go from one mechanic to another to another.
Yeah, there's not really any recurring mechanics in the raid.
Yeah, and this is the first one that I can remember that because all the other ones, they tried to show a mechanic early and then they tried to implement it in a later boss fight.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything that they showed early on this one that you do later on in the game. So each separate area was a unique experience unto itself.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I would say the only common thing that every one of the encounters has is that you have to shoot things. That's that's literally it.
That's the point of the game, right? So,
yeah, so it's crazy. So it's hard for me because to me this raid doesn't really fit in with Destiny the other raids within the Destiny universe, just because it is so unique. And this is the first raid where we've had 2 encounters where the main objective isn't really shooting things. It's sort of okay. So the dogs is sort of shooting things because you have to kill all of them to escape. But that's not really the main objective, really, to sneak around and whatever. And then of course, the gauntlet, the jump puzzle, which we'll talk about. We'll go through one by one. But I just don't know if I can compare this to the other raids in Destiny. 1, because it took us so long to complete. I'm not sure how much I'll actually enjoy it whenever we're just running through it. The scenery is my favorite of any raid so far. The raid design itself, in terms of aesthetics, is brilliant. It's so good.
Yeah, they did an amazing job with that.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't know if I'm in a good enough position right now to do it. We spent so long in the raid, I just don't know if I'm gonna enjoy doing it on a weekly basis, But of course, we'll get better. Everyone has a merciless now. We all know the mechanics, so I'm sure we'll get our time down to like 3 or 4 hours trying to do a raid, somewhere in there. It's very interesting. I'm interested to see what everyone in chat thinks about the new raid, if they've done it. That's also the other thing. I believe that this is the least completed raid, like, within the week of its launch, like, in the history of Destiny. All over Reddit and stuff, there's people talking about how they can't wait to do it. They're still gearing up, or it's too difficult. They couldn't get past such and such encounter. Because in this raid, there's not really any throwaway encounters. that are really just easy for the sake of getting past them. They're all pretty difficult in their own right, which is
maybe the initial encounter might be the only one that.
Even that, dude, that took us a while to get down. I saw someone on Twitter, I forget who it was, compare this raid to a group therapy session, and they're absolutely right. If you're aggravated at someone in your team, which we saw on live stream, tensions were high. If you don't have good communication, if you're arguing, you're just not going to complete this raid. It's as simple as that, and that's with friends. Like, I can't imagine going into this raid with completely random people that I've never played with before. I just feel like the synergy isn't going to be there to be able to complete it. So I'm really interested to see how carries go. I'm excited to start carrying people to try that opportunity, but I'm nervous at the same point because I just don't know if it's gonna go as well, you know. So.
Yeah. We'll get experience with some of the less experienced clan members, with raids. So we'll
fair.
See, our main team to see how well we do with that and how easy it's going to be. Because, there's some areas where we can put those people on. I guess that's a nice way of saying it. But most of them, everybody has to be doing something, and those are the type of raids I enjoy. Like,
yeah,
I didn't like your favorite one, Crota's End. I did not enjoy you just stand there with the Gallahorn until you say drop them, and then everybody shoots.
Yeah.
And then basically you do nothing almost the rest of the that encounter. So for me, I would rather everybody be working towards the same difficult task than to have one or two people just doing everything and getting everybody through. So
that's fair.
Yeah, that's just me, I guess. But
no, that makes perfect sense. There's. Like we were talking about, and this is the last thing I'll say before we actually delve into the separate encounters and start going through it. I think I like there being a huge diversity in raids. I think for every King's Fall, for every Leviathan, you need a Crota's End or a Vault of Glass. One that has some pretty decent mechanics, but isn't the most difficult thing to figure out and just go and run and do. So even with King's Fall, even if you have an experienced team, if you haven't done King's Fall in a while, it'll probably take you a little bit to do. But for every one of those difficult, tedious raids, you need one that you can just jump in, have fun with. Every raid that comes out shouldn't be that much harder than the previous one that came out, because at some point you're just raiding's gonna cease being fun because it's just gonna be a nonstop blame argue fest. And so you need a couple of easier raids in there, I think. But yeah, do you agree with that?
Easier, but I don't want it to be too easy to where we're just running through it in a half hour and it's like a strike.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to solo a raid.
No.
Yeah, but if two people die during an encounter, you shouldn't have to wipe. You should be able to at least have a fighting chance, which in the Leviathan raid, if you die, your teammates have 30 seconds to revive you, or else you all wipe automatically.
Yeah, and everybody only has one revive too. That's the other mechanic that they added. That's
such a crazy idea, Yeah. I don't know, man. That's pretty insane for a raid, but so I guess we can go ahead and start off with the raid. So start off, you spawn on the giant Leviathan ship. You have the Emperor talking to you, and it's pretty crazy. So you go through. There's a room where you have to defend some relics and stop things from spawning, and it's pretty intense. But the real first encounter is called the Baths, or it's represented by a sun logo, and it's essentially totems from King's Fall is the best way I would equate it.
Better version of totems.
Better version. Yeah, it requires some DPS throughput. So it's interesting. It's new. It's fresh. Probably my least favorite encounter of the entire Leviathan raid.
Yeah.
But still not bad. So yeah. So you pretty much agree with all that?
Yeah. So what I liked about it is you have to constantly be moving, constantly be shooting things. You're never really standing still, other than when you're on the plate waiting for, and we found the strategy really early for that, and then we abandoned it, and then we had to come back to it, which I thought was kind of cool because we probably were one of the first people to figure out that strategy in that area. And then we're like, nah, let's try something else, and then we found out that was the correct strategy. But so for me, totems was a real it could get really tedious if one person didn't really know what they were doing or were off on their counts.
Yeah.
And this one kind of simplifies the counting aspect of it a little bit because it tells you right on screen.
Yeah.
And like plus not and you only we only I think it only took us 2 phases to go through that rather than totems takes what, like 8?
10
7?
to full 10 for totems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This version of totems, but there's more action going on all the time in my opinion. So like I enjoyed it. It was a smaller arena than totems. No, it was about, I would say it was about the same.
It didn't. In terms of area you can walk on, it was about the same because totems is like really linear almost. There's not much like front and back. So yeah, I mean I agree. I really like totems. That's one of my favorite encounters in the King's Fall raid. Other than the fact that it is super annoying to get stuck on. It's one of those encounters like I want to like it, but it's very easy to get frustrated with. So. So pretty much same thing with this one. It's all right, but there's really not much else to say about it. It's pretty straightforward. And then you go to what is probably the most frustrating raid encounter like ever, and that is going to be the dog step, where you have to sneak around this entire arena and try not to get caught by dogs. It's super annoying. What are your initial thoughts about that, man?
When you first enter the arena, like you see this mist on the ground and you just see all these like lush like greenery and trees and all this other stuff, and nothing in Destiny 1 had anything like that. Like there weren't like bright colors and raids or anything like that. So you go into this arena and you clear out a wave of enemies, and it was just so cool. And then you're like, okay, what do we do from here? And we kind of figured out that there's these, as soon as you kill all the enemies, you have to go to this structure at the far end of the area, and it spawns these dogs as soon as you pick up these relics, and they kind of like sneak around the map, and you can't be seen by them, or they start howling, and you only have a certain amount of times that this is basically called a safe room, that this safe room can save you from being damaged.
Yeah.
Or basically wiping the entire team. Once they damage you, the entire team wipes. But there's only a certain amount of time, so you basically have to kill these 6 dogs, but you can't just shoot them because you barely do any damage to them. So you have to go around this arena, and there's these like pods that spawn that the 2 people with the relics have to shoot to give you power to be able to damage these dogs. So it's really good teamwork. You're sneaking around. The people on top are running around, keeping other enemies off of you.
It's so in depth. Like it's like 4 mechanics layered on top of each other.
Yes, it's so awesome, and I hope that it doesn't change. Like I'm really hoping like we don't just learn everything and then it's just like it's not as fun anymore, because that was one of the most unique encounters in Destiny I've ever had, and it was.
I would say the most unique.
Yeah.
We're gonna get the next one's pretty unique too, but it still goes back to like a jump puzzle. We really haven't. I mean, Gorgon Maze sort of, kind of, but I would say that this is the most unique raid thing in Destiny, and it's crazy.
And it was fun, because like you had to have 2 people running around, and then the other 4 people outside had to coordinate with. So 2 people coordinated with each runner.
Yeah.
And had to switch on platform, because you had to stand on a platform to spawn a what did it spawn? I can't remember what it spawned. But you had to kill that guy, and then the next person had to be running to the next platform so they could spawn that guy, and that they could shoot the thing to let the person through. So it was really fun. It's really fast paced, like. And at the end, you pick up 6 orbs, and you have to basically go and dunk. You have to dunk at least 4 of them. So it's basically a run around the arena before the time runs out, and it's super fun. Like I think that's the one that we had the most fun on as far as the encounter goes.
Yeah, definitely. It's like the official name of it is Gauntlet. It's represented by a couple of axes, I believe, and yeah, it's giant. It's essentially a giant circle. 2 players will voluntarily teleport to the outsides, And then it's a jumping puzzle where you have to get your team to shoot these triangles that correspond with rows, and you have to. It's. I'll have a more in-depth guide on it later in the weekend, but it's essentially like trying to play hopscotch while trying not to die, and it's super crazy. It's insane. I would say it's the most fun raid encounter ever in Destiny. It's very fun.
I would agree with that, and it's not overly like frustrating because like when you mess up, it's because you messed up. It's not because something.
Every time we messed up, I was like, yes, I get to run around the circle again.
Yeah. But, I mean, it was one of those things where like you knew when you messed up, it wasn't the game screwing you over.
Yeah.
Like that, like no glitch. Like we encountered one glitch, but you know,
it wasn't game breaking.
No, it was kind of cool, but like, yeah, I would say that was the most fun encounter. And it was like I keep reiterating, every encounter was so much different than the others. It was just like, it was so much fun because like each area looked different.
Yeah, and I wasn't like for the dogs, I wasn't really having like a lot of fun. I was getting pretty frustrated because we spent like 3 hours on it. But this one, like, it was really good. You're playing like Ring Around the Rosie, and then the thing, Bungie trolled you hard too, because at the end when 4 or 3 people or however many you have to have slam at the end, if you slam at different times, the little balls that you slam send out a shockwave and kill everyone else in the room. So if your timing's not near perfect, everyone dies, and so you go from being a foot away from completing it to everyone now has to start over and do it. And it's such a troll, but it's such a good, like, it's so much fun. Like, that happened to us the first time, and I really wasn't that angry. It was a lot of fun.
Well, and I think, like, you were talking about dogs being kind of frustrating. I don't think it would be as frustrating if it didn't, like, I don't think coming in a second time it will be as frustrating as it was the first time. Like, and I think it'll be more fun. Like, it was tense when you were like sneaking around that arena and hoping not to get hit by or seen by the dog.
Especially when you were trying to learn all the paths and stuff too.
So it was intense, like one of those things where you're like clenching, like, oh my gosh, I hope I don't get seen. This is awesome, you know, that type of thing. So it, like, I understand your frustration because like by the point we figured out dogs, we were a little done with that area, but I think it was a uniquely or is a unique encounter as well. But yeah, I can see, but I did enjoy the next encounter more. But we'll see as we keep playing it how that'll go, because it could change.
Yeah, that's why I'm not really ready to make a verdict just yet, because I have some animosity towards this raid, but I think getting a team together that knows what they're doing, 6 Mercilesses, I think it'll be very easy to alleviate all that hatred towards some of the encounters. So I like it.
Just going away and coming back, I think, fixed a lot of our issues.
Finishing it. When I finished it, it was like the moment we finished the raid, I was just like, it was like a shoulder lift or a weight lifted off my shoulders, and I was like, you know what, this raid was fun. Yeah. But if you're one of the fire teams, like, it took us a total of probably around 11 hours to beat the raid, I would say. Somewhere in there. I think it's
like, the last one didn't... I think we beat the last encounter in about an hour after we actually came back to it.
Yeah, after we came back to it. But total, it from start to finish, it was about 10 or 11 hours, which is... I think any person that plays any video game for that amount of time can realize that can be really frustrating. Yes. Especially when you're in a total of like 5 different areas, and the scenery never changes, the mechanics don't change between encounters, and it's just like one simple screw up after another. Like, that can get pretty frustrating, and I think everyone can appreciate that fact, but whenever you finish it, it's just like, you know, you feel like you accomplished something, and you can't wait to go back in there and, you know, beat your time and do it even faster. You know,
yeah, I would say that was the most accomplished I've ever felt in Destiny.
Absolutely,
the night before, I was so defeated. I'm like, I spent a freaking week, like barely leaving my apartment, like, you know, doing nothing but grinding Destiny, and like, this is what we have to get for it. So I was a little frustrated, and then like it felt so good just to get that done, to have to know that we can do it. Like, and it wasn't as difficult as we made it the night before. You know, we were just frustrated, and we were just, you know, we were ready for it to be over. And
Yeah.
and stupid things were happening, you know, that we were doing, not the game was doing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's another thing I like about this raid. We only had one glitch that I can remember, and it was like a silly glitch. It wasn't like a, oh, we were on the last phase and it wiped us glitch
Yeah.
type
We
thing.
can actually go ahead and talk about that. So the very last encounter is a robotic version of the Emperor of the Cabal. And so we had this glitch. It was pretty early on yesterday when we went back to finish it. And so we started the encounter, and then the Emperor just stood there and looked at us. And, like, nothing happened. So we had to kill ourselves to make anything happen. But it was really funny because we're all, like, dancing around the Emperor and just, like, shooting random things in the room. It was quite fun, but it was strange. But I would have to agree that this seems to be the most fleshed out raid in terms of you know, you can tell they actually looked for a lot of bugs. And it's really interesting because this is such a large raid with so many moving parts and mechanics. It's crazy that Bungie managed to smooth that all out before shipping, actually.
Yeah.
So
I mean, especially how big the areas were.
Yeah,
all the geometry they had to test.
Giant, especially with like in the boss fight, there's a time where you get spawned into like an alternate pocket dimension, and there's just a giant floating, moving head, and it's not buggy at all. There's moving symbols on its foreheads. There's parts where it shoots like miniature skulls out of its mouth. So many moving parts, different scions you have to shoot. And it's just not buggy. All of the raid works very well. It's very well put together, play tested, and there's a lot of moving mechanics. But yeah, for the last boss, essentially what you have to do, your team gets split in two, and so there's 3 people on the inside and 3 people on the outside, and the people on the outside have to say like specific symbols that correlate with the rest of the raid. So dog, blade, sun, chalice, and then you have to inside. Like I said, I'll have more detailed guides coming later. But on the inside, you have to punch scions that represent those corresponding symbols, and you have to do that 4 times per rotation. And then there's a little bit of like a damage phase where the boss gets like a temporary shield, and the 3 people on the inside have to shoot him. And then you get the actual damage phase, which has you bouncing around from different plates throughout the entire encounter. So it's very I'm trying to think if there's been any other damage phases within Destiny where it kept you constantly moving. It's sort of like what Golgoroth was supposed to be, but wasn't.
Yeah. Well, I think, and that's the thing is like I think it's a better version of Oryx, like because of all the mechanics, but you actually had a damage phase which you didn't have on Oryx, and I think that was one of your biggest complaints, wasn't it?
Yeah, with Oryx is because no matter how good your team was, no matter how well you guys did, you had to do 4 rotations no matter what, and I hated that.
So I loved the whole mechanics thing with Oryx, and I loved that. But yeah, I will agree with you on that. It's not as fun when the whole fire team's not like damaging a boss, because that's one of the things of a shooter is you want to be shooting things.
Shooting things, not running around in circles. Exactly.
When you're well, I mean, the running around was fun, but if it led to you actually shooting something, because Oryx, you know, literally you didn't shoot him until the very last bit, other than to, you know, keep his chest open or to stun him, but literally you were just, you know, doing mechanics, which I love that part. I you know, cherish that part. But
yeah,
it was frustrating when, you know, you'd get all the orbs down and boom, you know, he was dead. This one, when you wipe, when somebody dies, it's literally somebody's fault that happened. It's not the game's fault. It's not the mechanics' fault. It's not the boss's fault. You know, it's not something glitching. It's somebody's fault.
And the best part about that is it means it can be fixed. You know, if someone dies, it means they're doing something wrong. For instance, like I had a suggestion. A couple of our people on the outside kept having problems. Like specific, there's these scions that can knock you off edges. There's holes and stuff. And, you know, I made the suggestion, you know, if you're having trouble with this, maybe just give it a new perspective. Switch spots. And then they did it. And literally the second try after they switched spots, we beat the raid.
Well,
so...
yeah, they knew exactly where the scion that they wanted to shoot but couldn't shoot was, so it kind of helped them out see it with the new perspective, see where that scion was, or know where to shoot, basically.
Yeah, Exactly, and it was so that's what I do like about this raid, and something I'm gonna like about this raid going forward is it. You know, if you mess up, you have a very specific task to do, and it's not like Oryx where there's so many different things that can happen. You know, there's these knights that can spawn, but they might not spawn the correct way, or you know, they spawn at different times or anything like that. It's very calculated. All of the timing is extremely accurate and will be very consistent. And yeah, it's a really well put together raid, and it makes me excited seeing how fleshed out this raid was in terms of lore, in terms of how awesome the weapons and the armor are, the loot system, which we'll talk about here in a second. All of it. It makes me excited to see the future raids of Destiny 2, to see what if they're gonna continue doing it, if they're gonna experiment with other things, stuff like that. So, pretty excited to see the future of it. But that's pretty much the raid. The raid rewards are weird. Let's talk about this for a second. So the raid rewards, whenever you finish a raid, like an encounter in a raid, you don't really get rewards. Throughout the entire raid, I got an auto rifle and a helmet, and that's it. From four encounters. And a lot of people were freaking out about that, but you get these things called Callus tokens, and I showcased this in my video this morning, so if you're interested in seeing exactly how they work, you go check that out. But essentially, you take them to the vendor for the raid, and you can turn them in, as with every other single faction within Destiny, and you get engrams, and they drop additional raid rewards. And from that, I got 3 additional pieces of raid gear. So that's very helpful, and it's weird. And then you also get these keys from finishing the raid, from finishing each encounter, that allows you to go into a secret area underneath the Leviathan ship, and
which was awesome.
Very awesome. So it's like a giant labyrinth underneath the ship, and whenever you find these chests, just to give you an idea, we all got 3 keys, and I think all of us got at least 1 exotic. If I'm not mistaken.
Josh said he didn't when he did it, but we all 6 of us, that were 5 of us, got 1 exotic. You got 2.
Yeah, me, Scaldian and I both got 2. Yeah. So and you get at least a legendary shard, or excuse me, a legendary engram, as well as a couple Callus tokens as well. So it's a very, like, not only do you have to work for your loot, you have to go visit an additional vendor and explore a giant maze for all of your loot, and I like it. It's very in depth. It puts it together,
and it goes with the theme of what Destiny's doing, because we're going to talk about it a little bit. Everything has vendors now, and you earn basically rewards, like tokens, to cash in at those vendors. So instead of just getting the rewards, you go and you get to see what you like. Basically, when you're calmed down and you're not in the heat of the moment. Yeah, so I think it works better that way, because then you can actually enjoy your loot. And I think that's what they were going for when they did that.
I think the only negative that I can see is you can't rank up while you're doing the raid. So the raid's on a scale from 160 light to 180 light. It's a very noticeable difference. And if you're only like 160, you can't go into the raid expecting to be a good enough light level whenever you hit the end of the raid, because no loot drops until after you have completed the entire raid.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, the dogs dropped a chest.
Yeah. I mean, every encounter dropped a chest. You had a chance to get loot from every one of them, but it wasn't guaranteed.
Yeah, because that's where I got the scout rifle, and it's amazing, by the way.
Yeah, and one of us got like a bond from the baths, I think. I got an auto rifle from the gauntlet, a helmet from Callus.
Or I got gloves. Yeah, gauntlets from, I think, the dogs. Yeah, I think that's where he got them from.
But
if I remember right.
Essentially, the raid is very awesome for loot. But, if you're a solo player, if you don't have a group of friends to play with, you're missing out on a big part of, a source of loot. So don't listen to people when there's so many posts on Reddit being like, the raid doesn't award enough loot, blah, 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 blah. Because it gives you just as much loot as the raid in Destiny 1 did. You just have to know where to go to find it and how to complete the raid. And it's not like it's exactly difficult to get to light level 180. I think our lowest light level, with a week of grinding, our lowest light level was like 191 or something going into the raid. Granted, that is playing a lot, but still, it's not difficult to get to that point in order to have to be able to meet that quota to go into the raid and do all right. So I wouldn't be too scared of it. I would definitely actively be looking for a group to go experience the raid because it is a lot of fun. So yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, and just another thing, we're waiting to do the raid with a bunch of our clan members first. So give us a couple weeks to do that, and then we're gonna try to find the best ways to start Sherpaing people. And I like calling them raid carries, but you can't really carry someone through this. So you have to Sherpa them. You have to teach them the mechanics, and you are completely dependent on them to perform. So these are going to
have to be willing to learn.
Yeah, you're going to have to be willing to learn, and I might have to start really enforcing starting to watch my guides before we decide to try to carry you or something, because it's pretty. If you don't know what you're doing in this raid, it will take literally all day. So I'm very interested in seeing how the raid progresses with hard mode, with all of that stuff. But pretty much that's a discussion for another episode. So if that's everything you want to say about the raid, Jay-Z, we can move on to Trials. So essentially, Trials of the Nine is pretty much the exact same as the Trials of Osiris, but the rewards work a little bit different. So at win 3, at win 5, and at win 7, you can now go to the third Spire location and get free rewards essentially for getting those wins. And then if you go flawless, you get an additional aura and that emblem. So it's pretty cool. I like the way they set it up here. It's a lot easier to get more rewards. You also get for your first 10 wins for the week, I think, you get additional Trials tokens, so you can pretty much farm additional engrams and get additional armor pieces and all that. And then it is no longer a light level based activity. So if you got a new gun that you wanted to try out, you don't have to worry about powering it up first. You just hop in there and you get stuff done. So that's a lot of fun. But that's pretty much it. So we went, well, I didn't go. I weaseled out, so I didn't get to go flawless. But
you did, but
yeah. So we went flawless today. I didn't get the rewards. And so Jay-Z, what do you think from the 4v4 experience to the brand new Eternity map to the weird 9 floating wizard things? What are your overall impressions of Trials?
I'm gonna say this. I think the 3v3 format for Trials might be a better thing, especially with the new revive system. The 4v4 wasn't bad. It's just it's that many more angles you have to cover, and I think the 3v3 focus more on gunplay, and this focuses more on team shooting.
Yeah.
So while I'm better at team shooting than I am gunplay, gone are the days of 1v4, 1v3.
Yeah, exactly.
Although you did do it once, it's very rare that that's ever going to happen.
Boom! You give me fusion rifle ammo,
yeah.
I'm a monster.
But I mean, against really good players, that's probably not going to happen.
Never going to happen. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Where you could get, if you got a snipe off on a good player, and you could take out the team's best player and then possibly go 1v3, that type of thing. But I preferred the lighthouse on Mercury, to be honest. This area was cool looking. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the mystique of the lighthouse on Mercury was just, in my opinion, really, really sweet. It was beautiful. You spawned in and your guardian shielded his eyes from the sun, and
yeah,
it was just really, really cool. So this one, everybody can go to the social space at you. So it's not like it's unique to the people that just go flawless.
Mm-hmm.
So you spawn in, but you can't go to certain tiers if you didn't get those certain amount of wins. So
and don't worry, because your lighthouse will return soon enough, Mr. Jay-Z.
Good. I thought it was a sweet looking social space. I enjoyed the aesthetics of it. But
yeah.
But it was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was intense. Heart was pumping, obviously, especially when you're on that 6th win and the other team takes a few rounds from you on the 7-win card, and you're so close, and you start tensing up a little bit. But it was a good time, and obviously this week is going to be a little bit easier to get the lighthouse just because so many players are just trying it out. So
Yeah.
you're gonna get the really good players mixed in with, you know, some average to a little bit above average players. So like pretty much everybody that plays the game is going to probably at some point in time this weekend test out trials. So
And get obliterated by my fusion rifle.
by your fusion rifle. Yeah. Yeah, cause you hog power ammo there. No, I'm just playing. But
hey man, if you got the performance, why not take the pills? That's all I'm saying.
I mean, yeah, you did pretty well with it. But I mean, it was fun. Did you like this social space better than the lighthouse, or did you enjoy the lighthouse more?
Well, I didn't get to see the flawless room firsthand, so who knows? Yeah, I know.
You know what it looks like.
Aesthetic wise, probably not. I think it's more mysterious, but that's the entire premise of the 9. So, you know, it fits. I think it'll be an expanding space. I hope it is, at least. I think it'll change from expansion to expansion to some extent. And I guess we'll just see, you know. One thing I did notice, there weren't any other people in there. You know, like you're in the lighthouse, you see other people.
Well, it's actually a small space. It's not as big as the lighthouse was.
I just don't know if, like, maybe we just went flawless too early and enough people hadn't gone yet, so we got our own instances or stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty good. I liked it. It wasn't. I was doing a lot better than, you know, early Destiny 1 trials. I did really well because it was more focused on gunplay rather than ability spam. And then it fell out of the meta, and it's back in the meta. It's more gunplay. It's more being unpredictable and jumping around and landing your headshots, and I enjoy that a lot more. So naturally, I did enjoy Trials of the 9. But once again, I'm interested from each buff to each nerf and stuff how the meta will change, and if I'll end up hating it or liking it even more or whatever.
I don't think Destiny has ever been this balanced, though. That's the whole thing.
It is very, everything in this game, I've noticed, nothing seems rushed. Everything is done with a purpose in mind. Very, very, very happy about that, I guess I could say. So.
I will agree wholeheartedly with that. I don't remember Destiny 1 ever being this balanced, as far as, because Destiny 1, you know, year 1 you had the hand cannon / auto rifle meta, which, you know, dominated Crucible, like Suros and Last Word. And
how about free one-hit kills from a melee that doesn't take a melee ability? You're telling me that's not balanced? That's totally balanced, Jay-Z. Oh man,
I like it because there's a couple of times where I got stuck, or I got like one way, or you can get you.
So what were you saying?
What part did you hear last?
Something. Oh, I was talking about shoulder charge.
Oh, see, I didn't even hear that. That from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like that you can shoulder charge somebody and they don't die instantly, and you only have one shoulder charge, you know, per melee ability. So like I was getting punched or I was getting grenaded and it wasn't completely killing me. Where in Destiny 1, you know, I was dead basically that and one bullet or stuck or whatever.
Yeah.
So way better meta as far as that goes. If we're just comparing, you know, apples to oranges, but the guns are balanced. The abilities seem pretty balanced. I mean, there's always going to be better guns when you've got a game with so much variety, but I don't think that anything's like super overpowered that I've seen. Like even the Mida has, you know, you can sneak around and catch him close range, and it's tough to, you know, out Mida somebody close range. So there's counter punches to everything that people can throw at you, and that's basically what you want in the PvP.
I'll agree with that. Everything seems pretty even. I like it. But yeah, I mean, Trials, it's pretty fun. I've only played about an hour's worth at this time, maybe 2. So I'm excited to get in there, play more, find out more of the lore behind the 9 and why there are these weird glowing, floating space alien warlock creatures. But But yeah, I mean, other than that, that's pretty much it for trials. So I just wanted to have one more quick discussion. But before we do that, I do want to say, so everyone seems to really like the idea of the raid. Specifically, Mark said that his favorite part was the gauntlet or the running room because it enforces teamwork and it makes everyone work together. And it's, you know, it's fun. It's enforcing teamwork in a fun way, which I like a lot. But yeah, overall, the reception seems to be pretty high for that. But the one thing I want to talk about is there's been a lot of discussion in the Destiny community as of late, because if you are in a clan and someone, I think it's 3 people in your clan, have to go flawless or complete a raid, then every other single person in the clan gets a free raid or trials engram. And a lot of people are really mad about that. But I think that's brilliant. I think it is a huge incentive to be in a clan. And I think if you're playing Destiny and you're not part of an active clan and you're not part of a base that'll bring you through the raid or play trials with you or do nightfalls or give you hugs or something, I don't know, whatever you want a clan to do, I think that this is a great reason to get in a clan because you get 1 additional loot source per week. And they drop at white level 10, so you're not getting an additional power source per week, which I like a lot.
What's also cool about it is a lot of people can't beat trials. A
Yeah.
lot of people can't beat the raid. Like, it gives them a taste of what's in it, and, you know, so they're not left out of on the cold of like, oh man, I really wish I could get that auto rifle from the raid. It's really sweet, but you know, I'm never going to be able to get through that section, or, you know, nobody will play with me through that section.
Yeah.
You can actually get it now, and you know, it's a 1 in 10 chance or whatever, but still, like, you have the chance of getting every week getting a piece of loot from that source.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's a really good system. When Luke Smith was like, "Oh, if you're part of a clan, you'll get additional engrams."
Yeah.
Originally, I was like, "That's stupid. What?" But now I'm like, "Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really, really good system." They implemented it very well. I like the entire reputation system in Destiny, where it's all like you get free rewards and stuff. My only problem with it is none of the ranks are like, you can't go to trials and see what rank you are. You can't go to the EDZ and be like, oh, I've ranked up Devon K 546 times. Like, it just, there's no way of telling, and that is my only problem with the system. And I think that's a pretty minor problem. Exactly. So
because most people don't care. Like, I honestly forgot I had ranks in Destiny 1 until, like, you know, somebody would say, oh, I'm rank 56 on Future War Cult, and I'm like, oh wow, I'm like rank 78. That's awesome. Like, you don't even think about it, but
exactly,
you know, it's just a little thing that they could have added that isn't there, that, you know, could have been, you know, but it's not the biggest deal in the world because it doesn't really affect a ton as far as the game goes. So I don't know why they chose to leave it out, honestly. But
I'm thinking they just overlooked it, or maybe it'll be integrated with part of the faction system that we'll get in a couple weeks, or who knows, you know. But really, that's pretty much it. A lot of people just discussing the stuff that we've pretty much already hit on. Oh, Kiltastic just informed me that you can see the ranks on Destiny Tracker, so it's in the API. So maybe they'll implement it in the future.
Yeah, so it's there. They just have to flip a switch on it, basically.
Yeah, okay. But overall, yeah, a lot of positive feedback about the raid. Not as much about trials, but once again, it just launched 6 hours ago, so people are probably still, you know, haven't had their first taste of it yet. So it's something that I encourage you guys to do if you're listening to this. Go to Xur, get the Merciless Fusion Rifle, and, you know, have fun playing Destiny 2, because it is miles better than Destiny 1, and I will stand by that forever.
And that's my favorite game of all time, so for me to think that, they really did something special with this one.
Exactly, and it's all very calculated, all very thought out, and I'm excited to see the future. You know, Iron Banner returns next month. We get the factions. I don't think it's next week. I think it's the week after next.
So let me ask you this before we go.
Okay.
Like, what do you think about the weapon designs? Because I know how I feel about them. Like, not the vanilla stuff. I'm talking raid weapons.
I think everything looks really good. The raid weapons especially are very, very nice. They all fit a very sleek white gold theme. Looks very good. I haven't really had as much experience with the Trials weapons. They look pretty good. But overall, everything in the game looks very smooth and the shaders work very well, in my opinions. Good. Jay-Z, you still there?
Yeah, it's cutting in and out again.
Okay.
But yeah, I heard basically what you said. Yeah, I think they really did a good job of designing the weapons for the raids and trials, and they make them so like King's Fall weapons, my favorite raid, but they're
so bad, dude.
So ugly and bad, and they're bad. Yes. So they actually gave you good.
Same thing with Crota. A lot of the weapons weren't that good looking in Crota.
Yeah, I didn't like using them because they were ugly. Like I like the aesthetics of my weapons.
In fact, I mean, if you think about it, weapons in Destiny, Vault of Glass really bland. Crota pretty ugly for the most part.
Yeah, but Vault actually looked like they were halfway decent looking weapons.
They were decent, but they were just other weapon models that were already in the game, just colored like bronze. You know, the Leviathan ones. Here, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll show you some on screen. They're unique. They're 100% unique weapon models, and they're gorgeous, right?
They're beautiful.
And
you can put shaders on them, and
all of the sights as well are the shape of Callus's mouth, like the weird rounded triangle thing. So it all fits the lore. They all have a lore tab like I'm showing on screen right now. I don't know. I think they're a lot better than the raid weapons in Destiny 1 for sure.
And the Trials weapons are beautiful too. They look very similar.
Actually, yeah, I meant to check some of those out. I don't know if I have any on me because I hadn't really. No, I don't. I didn't really look at many of them. The armor looks really good for Trials though. So
yes, the flawless armor. The normal armor. I haven't really looked at the normal armor as much, but the flawless armor is just it's all white, but it's really cool looking.
Yeah. All right, man. But yeah, as Kiltastic just said, I think the Wrath of the Machine weapons were the best looking Destiny 1. Yeah, that's why I didn't really bring them up because they're the most unique. They still reuse character model or weapon models, but they fit the theme of the raid very well. Like that's the thing I don't get about the King's Fall raid. They don't really look like it. I guess they're kind of going for like the Oryxy look.
Yeah,
maybe.
They look like hive things. They were ugly though. Like
they were more like flesh and bone, and Hive were more like I don't know. I think you could design Hive a little bit better. I don't
know. I just thought they were ugly, so I never wanted to use them, even if they even if they did have cool perks or whatever.
Yeah, fair. But yeah, I mean everything in this game is very well put together. I'm excited to jump back into the raid. Excited to go play some Trials tonight. And yeah, that's pretty much this episode. You got anything else you want to say, Jay-Z?
No. Play the raid. Find a fire team.
Find a fire team. Do the raid.
With it. You know, it's going to be frustrating.
Don't give up if you guys die a bunch. Make it at least to the gauntlet room because it is an experience you need to have.
Correct.
Yeah, but that's pretty much that. So, thank you guys for joining. As always, I've been Scaro9. You can find me at Scaro9 on Twitter or on YouTube if you're watching this on iTunes. If you like all sorts of Destiny 2 content, so you like to see new videos and stuff. I'm just Scaro9 on YouTube. I make pretty much a lot of videos. That's the best way to sum it up. And then if you're on iTunes or if you're on YouTube and you were more interested in audio-only podcast over on iTunes, I will have the link in the description down below. If you'd leave us a review as well, that would greatly help us as it increases the amount of people who can see it. But that's pretty much all for me. So Jay-Z, go ahead and do your thing, man.
Jay-Z Basketball 25 on Xbox and on Twitter.
And on the Twitter, yep. So that's pretty much us. We would shout out our other co-host, but he's not here today, so we're not gonna. But yeah, he'll be back. He'll be back maybe. Who knows, man? No, he'll be back. I'm pretty excited for next week though, because we're kind of in that period where we know stuff is coming right over the horizon, and we're gonna get information about it like literally any day. So I'm pretty excited to hear about it, the faction stuff and Iron Banner and all that. But yeah, so like I said, thank you guys for coming out and joining episode 34, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.